Morena, kia ora tātou katoa. Ka inu e te kia tūtū katoa tātou ki te waiata.
And welcome to the conversation. Welcome to this hui, this supported decision-making hui, a human right and in practice. I feel so pleased and honoured to be able to welcome you here as the chair of the steering group of Auckland Disability Law.
Tēnā tātou katoa. Article 12, supported decision-making, is a subject that is important to many of us with a learning disability and other disabled people too. I was privileged to be part of the writing of the convention, and we thought and fought for our friends who find communication very hard. We want to make sure that all disabled people had the right to be part of all the decisions in their lives.
We're here to start a national conversation on supported decision-making. I know it's not an easy subject. I know it has many challenges, but with every challenge there becomes an opportunity. Going forward, I think there needs to be a really strong understanding of what supported decision-making really means in practical terms, on the ground, day by day. Because ultimately, it has to result in disabled people having better lives, more choice and more control over those lives.
Supported decision-making is the means by which people who require the most support when they make decisions are given it so that they can express their own choices, their will and preferences, or others around them can ensure that they've got a best guess at what those are. It contrasts with substitute decision-making, where somebody else makes a decision on behalf of the person themselves.
Everyone needs to practice making decisions, non-disabled and disabled people alike. If we don't have the chance to develop and to make decisions for ourselves, then we're going to grow up to be dependent on other people as we grow old. And really, for supported decision-making to work, we need to be starting in early childhood. Just because some of us can't speak doesn't mean we haven't got anything to say.
I think it's really important that people understand that even if you have dementia or the diagnosis of dementia, that there's still many areas of your life that you can make decisions on. The truth, however, as revealed by extensive psychological research, is that though humans are capable of making carefully reasoned decisions on occasion, more usually our decisions are instinctive, intuitive and emotional, and you don't actually lose that stuff in dementia.
I think quite often when people talk about supported decision making, they talk about the dignity of risk, and I think that's so important because everyone has risks when they make decisions. Everyone kind of weighs up the pros and cons of what they want to do in their life and decisions they want to make, and there's no reason that disabled people shouldn't also have that ability to take risks. We've all taken risks. I think it's really important just to have the patience and take the time to support people with their decisions. It might take some people longer than others. So unfortunately, disabled people have really high rates of being abused in a number of ways. And I think that one of the reasons that supported decision making is so important is because it builds up people's confidence in themselves, and it gives them an opportunity to trust themselves and to be able to set their own boundaries. And you know, boundaries can be crossed in really small ways, but they can also be crossed in really big ways.
It's such an important human right. Article 12 of the Convention gives people with learning intellectual impairments the right to get the support that's right for them to make decisions in their own lives.
Like, does your family or your friends or anybody tell you what to do?
Yes.
Hey, do you want to explain a bit more about that?
I know sometimes it is hard. I think them talking about to make their choice into our choice, but to say it's not good.
I made a choice to move away from my family home because of the way they were treating me, and it was the best decision I have ever made, and it was my own choice.
Okay, supported decision making from an individual's point of view, I think it's important to have that because we're acknowledging the presence of that person in the family. And so when you give them the right to, or allow them to make decisions for themselves, you are acknowledging that they're part of that family and that they exist, they are people.
From our Pacific families, it really is about a circle of family.
For the family, supported decision making, I think, can look scary, but it can also be quite a relief because many families know their loved one really well. And I think they get very frustrated by the fact that support workers, for example, don't give their loved one any credit for being able to make any decisions or to choose things for themselves. So I think they'll be quite relieved.
Families need to work alongside their disabled family members, but also listening to others in a circle of support, those of the same age, same gender, what they might want.
And we'll find a lot of families would say, I don't want to put my child through that special ed schooling. He's going through mainstream, even though he has Down syndrome. But that's just Down syndrome. First of all, he's a human being.
Organisations need to upskill themselves and understand a human rights model of decision making and how they can support families, support disabled people to express themselves, so that disabled people have their will and preferences and choices realised. There's also a role for organisations to engage with the key groups other groups who can have an influence on the decisions that disabled people make. For example, organisations could influence legal professionals, health professionals, as they have a big say in how decisions are shaped up in the lives of disabled people.
And how do we get everybody on board in this movement? It's about making sure that they know about what's available. Getting them on board is working through organisations, working through the churches is one of the big areas. Working through sports clubs, because there's sport clubs with a lot of people with disability, and also there's the women's group and the young people and children's group, but for our Pacific people it's definitely the churches.
So things like electronic communication devices like iPads, and there's different types of speech generation devices, apps out there, such as Prolo2Go, which is one app I use, and there's other various types as well, but AAC also includes stuff like sign language, Macaphone, picture exchange communication system, so anything that supplements our ability to talk.
Actually, it's not a hierarchy about technology, it's really about what is the best access mode to unlock this person's ability to communicate. So that hierarchy, just particularly for girls like mine, just locks them out, and it's locked her out for 20 years. You're trying to find a way that's the right way for them, that you won't give up, that you want to try and unlock a means for them to communicate.
So as a psychologist, I'm often asked to provide information to help courts make difficult decisions. And I was looking for new tools to help me give voice to a person's preferences. I found out about talking mats, and it seemed a low-tech, simple, visual strategy that anybody could use in a variety of situations. And for some people, I've had this similar conversation repeatedly, and it becomes a sequence of evidence to say to the court, she changes some days in the quality and content of what is important to her, but notice that every single talking mat spoke about the importance of her sister Jean.
We have at the Auckland District Law Society a disability subcommittee, and that is I'm on, and that looks always at decision-making processes and other aspects of disability law in particular.
I think it's important that we build a movement. Over these past 2 days here at the Supported Decision Making Hui, it was great to meet with the usual suspects, so to speak, but also with new people from different sectors. We had the older person sector, mental health, intellectual impairments, name it. And I think part of the problem is we've not worked together before, and we've even have lawyers and researchers. This national conversation could actually be the beginning of a movement. We now have each other's contact details. We know that there's much to do because there'll be so many recommendations coming from this hui, and that will probably be our mandate, to stick together and to do things more collectively, and then that'll be the movement, I hope.
The disability community needs to lead a social movement around supported decision making, around realising the rights of disabled people. We need to keep having the conversations amongst ourselves and spread them beyond ourselves to disabled people, their families outside of here, to the professionals, to those who work in the disability sector, to health professionals, to legal professionals. Step it up to a political level so that lawmakers do begin to understand that there is a need for law change to make supported decision making universal. We need to look at the structures behind it which can help safeguard disabled people and their families. For example, an Office of Supported Decision Making, which has a more modern process around supported decision making than what Office of Public Guardians might have at the moment.
I look to the future and I see supported decision making just being an ordinary part of everyday life for everyone. I see that we've stopped trying to control other people's lives, we've stopped sticking our noses into other people's business, and we've started to realise that people can make their own decisions, they can make their own choices. Just some of us need a little bit more help than others.
Anori re tātou mā, hurino, kia ora me no tātou katoa.